You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is episode 144 of Retired Racehorse Radio on the Horse Radio Network, part of Equine Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, Cashel Company, and U.S. Rider. Retired Racehorse Radio is your guide to the adoption, care, and training of the retired racehorse, brought to you in cooperation with the Retired Racehorse Project and New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program.
It's a new year, meaning there are new foals. Dr. Cory Kieschnick joins us again to hype us up for the foal cams at Del Val. We catch up with Amanda Tucker at New Vocations, learning tips and tricks for slowing down your horse over fences and ground poles. And we introduce you to our adoptable horse of the week. Stay tuned.
And they're off on Retired Racehorse Radio, the podcast that is your guide to the adoption, care, and training of the retired racehorse.
This is Joy Orr in Detroit, Michigan.
And this is Kristen Kovach-Bentley in Jamestown, New York, and you're listening to Retired Racehorse Radio.
Well, Kristen, our holiday hiatus has come to an end. It is now the real new year.
We are easing our way in.
We sure are. I forgot how to podcast, and listeners, if you're still here, thank you.
I mean, we've made it 143 episodes. Like, we should remember at this point.
And it's going to be our 6th birthday next month.
That's wild.
I know, but this is the one before the 6th birthday. So crazy.
Exciting, though. That's
very, very. But as we are getting older and wiser on this podcast, or more unhinged, or
definitely
more
older. I can tell you we're getting older.
We're getting older. I can also say my horse is getting more and more feral, being tired.
I scratched Jobber's neck today, and he squealed and then shook his head in the barn, and I was like, "Uh-oh." Like, this is not going well. My barn doors have been frozen shut, so I can't get a horse like out the front of the barn. The horses, they can come in and out, like they come in to eat and then they go back out. And there's other like ways to get out of the paddock that they're in, but then it's been icy. So like, I just sort of was like, well, I don't tend to do a whole lot. I don't ride when it's under like 25 unless it's sunny. And then I don't do a whole lot of like handling work when it's under 20, just because for me, that's a little cold just to be doing stuff.
Same.
And it's been a really cold winter. So yeah, they've not done a lot, but they would like to be doing things. So I gotta figure that one out. I don't know what we're going to do yet. So
yeah, same. Same and not same, because as anyone who's listened to the show before, I retired my horse at the end of fall. And while that has been good, honestly, for both of us, I think it's just removed all the pressure of trying to find a solution that was not meant to be. So we're able just to enjoy each other. But she's feral and bored. She wants stuff to do. I'm cold. It's always like field temp is single digits right now. So I give her cookies and I do groom her. She's not completely neglected, but I don't want to spend a lot of time outside. So my goal is we're both going to survive the next few weeks until we get to some, at least 20 degrees would be nice. And then I think I'm going to try trick training with her, just to give her brain something to do, because she's eager to do something. She doesn't like full retirement. But I think that's going to be the next step, and will challenge me too. I've never really gotten into trick training.
I like that. I think that's a good like mental challenge. Like we found that with our dogs too. Like we have these 2 hunting dogs, and if they just get to do some like, they're not exercising their bodies a lot, but if they're doing like a mental drill, like they hold something, they fetch something, they have to like heel with Eric through the house holding a thing, like then they're like, oh, so like I think that mental stimulation is just as important as the physical stimulation for animals. So yeah. I mean, I know that's true for us too as people. So
well, I hope it works better than when I try to do it with my dog. I tried to teach her how to turn her own fan on. We got her own button for Christmas. Tova wasn't interested. Tova looked at me like, this is human work. And I was asking too much. And I had all the cookies. Like, I know how to train dogs. I'm actually really good at training dogs. My dog has no interest. All she's hilarious. Like, give me the treat. And I'll show her what it is. Like, I don't even know how many times I pressed the button, put the cookie on the button, like put her paw on the button and gave her a cookie just for doing that. No, we weren't gonna do it unless I made her do it. And I could tell like in her eyes, she's like, this is not for me.
That's hilarious.
There are other dogs willing to do this, but I don't dog.
Oh my God. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah,
so
so-
I asked the listeners, I spent too long writing content and now I'm like, my readers. Okay, listeners. I asked listeners on our Facebook page and our Instagram account, like, what do you do when you can't ride for various reasons? Like, I don't need to know like what everyone's temperature range is. I'm sure there's people that ride colder than me. I'm sure there's people that are like, nope, no way, I don't ride below freezing. Like, these are all legitimate. These are fine. But when you can't ride for whatever reason, what do you people do? And the crowd pleasing comment and my personal favorite was from Lane Schaefer, who said, I keep them alive. That's what we do. And I was like, girl, same. Like, it's one of those winners where I'm in like, keep them alive mode. And this was very popular. There were many responses that were like, I feel this. This is the same. Like, I got you. So yeah, there were also some good suggestions, on some other methods to try and groundwork and stuff to do. So on the days I feel a little more motivated, I will be looking into some of those things, but also a shout out to Lane Schaefer because same.
Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent way to do it. I agree. Just keeping alive seems like a good rule of thumb. And we're already, at the end of January. By the time you're all listening to this, it's a week before you'll hear it, but that we're recording, but it's January 25th. That's one more month down. And for our northern friends, yes, we technically have like 2 more months. But for all you like mid-America friends of ours who kind of get those real seasons, you're halfway there. And we're hyped for you. So stoked and jealous, but mostly hyped. And we'll be on that finish line soon enough too. So February is a short month.
I don't know. It seems like even in like sort of like the mid South, they're getting a lot of weather. Like, because I have Shorty down in Kentucky right now. He's still like just growing foot after his keratoma surgery.
Oh, yeah. We got to get an update on that, by the way.
Yeah. Well, there's not a whole lot to share. He's just standing there growing foot, like not that exciting. And he seems to be having a grand time. But he actually, I think he was kind of helpful to them because they had to bring in all of their stock for that giant storm that Kentucky got in early January.
Yeah.
So he suddenly got like 22 roommates and was like, oh, hello, everyone. And apparently he was like a very good influence. So they had weanlings that were exactly. They had weanlings like flinging themselves off of walls, being upset. And Shorty was just like, okay. So God bless his simple little mind that, he's found something he's good at and it's standing still and growing foot. So yeah, hopefully we can bring him home in a couple weeks. We'll see. So just waiting for a little more growth because I don't know. I don't remember when I sent you photos last, Joy, but it's scary looking because there's just a giant hole in his foot. And I'm like, I'm not comfortable putting that out yet. So we need a little more growth to kind of make that look a little more protected before I'm comfortable just turning that loose again. So yeah, this is a weird one. Like I've never had anything like this. So I'm like very much learning as I go. But yeah, I mean, if you want to know what it looks like if your horse had a round hole in the front of his foot.
It looks really clean, though.
It's very clean, and I want to keep it that way. So that's why we're being like very overcautious about it. So, but yeah, he hangs out in a giant foaling stall, eating a lot of hay, with his foot well wrapped, and looks out the window at Pancake, the little stallion.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, his little, we call it Shorty's television. So he looks at Pancake, the teaser. He's a mini teaser, and his little paddock is right outside Shorty's window. So Shorty just stares at Pancake all day, and I don't know if Pancake stares back at Shorty or what they do, but it seems to be working. So
I love that for him, living his best life.
Yep. And the Jobber and Wes are meanwhile like, where the heck did Shorty go? So
yeah.
It'll be nice to bring him home.
Showing that they miss him.
Yep. Yeah, they are. Jobber is like tolerantly letting Wes get closer and closer to him. Wes is not a particularly like snuggly animal, but he's like, well, Shorty's gone. So, okay. And Jobber's like, ugh, fine. So, horses are weird. It's a good time.
They sure are. They sure are. But, I love it. I'm staying optimistic that we're going to get some better weather because right now it's a polar vortex coming in. So we can't be, too optimistic about this current week, but hopeful for as the weeks go on that we get closer and closer to spring and at least there is more light outside. And that I am grateful for. But not just that, I am grateful for how we can keep our horses alive, as our listener has shared this winter, with great supplements and great care. And we get those through Kentucky Performance Products, who is our premier sponsor, and hear a little message from them now.
Frequently asked questions, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. Question: my friend was telling me that supplementing with omega-3 fatty acids decreased the level of inflammation in horses with arthritis. Is this true? Answer: yes. There have been several peer-reviewed studies that have shown that supplementation with the omega-3 fatty acids known as EPA and DHA will help support healthy levels of inflammation in the joints. The best source of EPA and DHA is fish oil. We often recommend adding a high-quality omega-3 fatty acid supplement, such as Kentucky Performance Products, contribute to the diet of horses who struggle with joint pain and stiffness. A KPP customer named Sarah recently posted a review sharing her experience with Contribute. She wrote, "I recently swapped my Western dressage and cow horses over to the Joint Armor and Contribute. Astonishing results! My horses are moving beautifully with more impulsion and suspension in their gaits." You can learn more about Contribute and omega-3 fatty acids EPA and DHA at kppusa.com. Got questions about your feeding program? We can help. Email Karen at questions@kppusa.com or call us at 859-873-2974.
Joy, we're really happy to have back with us today Dr. Cory Kieschnick from Delaware Valley University. So we had I'm going to call you Dr. Cory because we're friends now. We had Dr. besties. We had Dr. Cory on, probably midway through 2024 to talk about Delaware Valley's really cool, very immersive equine program and how you guys are breeding standardbreds and prepping standardbreds for sale and kind of going through the whole industry process. And you mentioned at the time that you guys were doing a Foal Cam series. So we were like, oh my gosh, we have to talk about this in early 2025, because I imagine you guys are getting, pretty close to foaling season now. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, we're gearing up.
Oh, that's awesome. So exciting. It's almost baby time, everybody. As someone who is never intending to breed their own horses, this kind of thing lets me live vicariously through other people's programs. So I'm very excited about this. So we're going to zoom out and back up a little bit and just review for listeners who might be new where Delaware Valley University is located and then how your equine program works, because I think it's really cool and very immersive.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be back hanging out with you all. Delaware Valley University is located in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. We're in Bucks County in a very horse-dense area. And we have programs, academic programs in equine management and equine science with specializations in both of those. And one of the specializations in our equine science program is breeding. So we have an equestrian center on campus where we house about 48 school horses, and then we have a breeding center on campus. So we have stallions, brood mares, a tease mare, yearlings, and soon to be foals on property. And it's just a short walk down from the residence halls. So the students are really there with the horses so much of the day.
I love that. That is, and I think I remember talking about this the last time you were on. I looked at Delaware Valley as a school and ended up going out of state somewhere else because I grew up in Montgomery County, which is quite close. And I'm thinking now, like, boy, this could have been a very different conversation had I gone there. We would have been like, oh, hey, professor that I already, worked with. But
well, we would have loved to have you.
Yeah, but like that whole like walk to the barn from your dorm is so appealing, especially now. Like I look out the window and we have like 2 feet of snow on the ground and I have to get in a car and drive to my farm today.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, that would have been really cool. So, and I have to imagine, so the students are very hands-on with foaling season, right? So like when you guys are foaling, like the students are there, they're, I don't imagine in control, right? Like you have personally, right. I would be like, please have an adult supervise me.
Yes,
right?
yes, we sure do. Yeah, that's right. But they are really, really involved. And a big part of Del Val is our hands-on learning. That's the mission of the institution. The institution was founded based on science with practice in 1896. So it was pretty cutting edge back then. And now that is a huge part of what we do. So the students are there as the mares are foaling, but they're there from the very beginning too. So we're collecting stallions on property, we're shipping semen, they're analyzing it. They're there when the mares are inseminated, they're there for the whole pregnancy process. and then they start checking out, they do mare checks, they see how close they are. And then when we go on full watch, they often are sleeping in the lab. So especially the ones who are assigned to a mare, they're assigned in the advanced equine reproduction class. When they're assigned to a mare, then they start sleeping down at the barn. So they're really there, hanging out and waiting for those foals to be born. And then they get to be there, helping with the process, which is a pretty cool experience.
That's cool. That's a very different kind of like, oh, I did an all-nighter at college.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's some bleary-eyed students in class that during full watch season, and that's part of it, right? Is learning that, man, horses can be exhausting, and then when your baby is born, it's like nothing else. They're over the moon.
I love that. So, like, at what stage of the calendar are we at now? Like, has full watch begun? We're in early January. I think this episode's going to come out end of January. So we're getting into the season, right?
Yeah, we really are. We breed the horses based on not only the racing calendar, right? I mean, as close to January 1st as you can get, then those yearlings are just a little bit older when they sell there, but that kind of thing, but also on the academic calendar. So we don't have any students on property January 1st because we do have some who are working on student staff, but classes aren't in session. So usually our foals start coming the very end of January, very beginning of February, and then it goes through maybe early April.
Okay. Yeah. So that's crazy to have to align like two different calendars, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then, like horses being horses, like, do you get some surprises where you're like, oops, well, that one was born a little early, but sorry, student, you might have missed your mare.
Yeah. They really are. I would say that sometimes that happens because horses are unpredictable, which we say all the time, for all sorts of reasons, right? Well, horses are unpredictable, but there's so many eyes on these horses so much of the day. We have probably roughly 18 student staff workers. We have a full-time manager. She's there. And she lives on property. So we have 3 different full-time staff members who live at Del Val. So there's so many eyes on the horses that rarely do we sort of, whoops, missed one.
Right. I love that. How many are you expecting this year?
We have 13 foals that we're expecting this year, 10 standard breds and 3 thoroughbreds, which are client horses.
Oh, okay. So can private owners can send horses to you to foal out?
Yeah, that happens sometimes. We have
cool.
Some partners, and we have certainly our own standard bred herd. Primarily our herd is standard breds. We do have a warm blood stallion that we stand as well. But we have we did stand a thoroughbred for a couple of seasons, and that owner sends us some thoroughbred mares to foal out.
Oh, how fun. Oh, that's cool. So yeah, that's going to be a full house then. That's quite a 13.
It's going to be a busy season. Yeah, it really will be.
That's crazy. Awesome. So yeah, let's talk about the full cams part, because I think that's such a unique angle, and such a great way to bring other people kind of into this industry and kind of let them follow along. Because, like most of us, like I mentioned, like I'm never going to breed horses. So I am unlikely to ever witness a foaling myself. Unless I go to my friend's place in Kentucky and camp out for a month, which frankly, not interested in doing, have a lot of other things going on. But this full cams thing, this lets people tune in from anywhere. How does this work?
Yeah, we partner with the PHRA, the Pennsylvania Horse Racing Association, for our full cams, and this is the 3rd year that we're doing it. We're really excited about it. It's been a great experience because we've found that people can see what we do. It's a great way to sort of educate new audiences who may not be familiar with the horse breeding and racing industry, specifically in Pennsylvania. And so we pick some mares who are comfortable with the students in their stall. Sometimes we'll have a maiden mare, and you just don't know how territorial they're going to be, what they're going to think about the whole foaling process. So we usually choose mares who are camera ready, right? They're like,
Right.
okay, come on in. Yes, this is the time. Welcome. So we have 3 who will be on the cameras this year, and people can either go to our website, delval.edu, /equine, and then there'll be a link up there, or they can go straight to the penhorseracing.com website, and there's a link there as well. And the foal cams come on March 1st, and they'll run through approximately April 7th, I think. So there's not only just the cameras inside the stall, but we also have a camera outside to see a paddock where when the mare and foal go outside, then they can watch the turnout as well. So it's pretty fun.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. So you get like, not just like the birth moment, but then also like, here's a day in the life kind of experience too.
Yeah. Yeah. And leading up to it too. So they're seeing the students come in and interact with the mare. Oftentimes, the students who are assigned to the mare will come in and just be grooming her and interacting with her. So leading up to the birth as well, they're watching the mare, and usually we put some updates on the Penn Horse Racing website. So on that full cam link, they'll be like, we're going on full watch alert. So I also we share that on the Del Val Equine social media too, like heads up, full watch tonight, so that people can tune in.
Right. Yeah. Not just sit there for a month kind of hoping that they catch it. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody's going to stay awake all night, right? But for as many nights as we might. But if you get a heads up, like, hey, it's looking like tonight, then I know a lot of people who have sort of gotten sucked in. Like, I was up until 2 a.m. because I really wanted to see the foal.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
And that's cool because that, kind of puts like this sort of crowd, like everyone's going to be rooting for that horse, and even if they're not going to necessarily follow it through its whole career, it's just neat to be like, oh, you witnessed that thing, and like a little piece of you goes with that horse, and through the rest of his life, even if you don't know where he went or what he's doing, like, that's
exactly
a neat way to come along for the ride. Yeah.
And I think it's really cool too, because maybe the average person who doesn't do horses, right? It's not in their DNA. They may not think about how someone really thought about a stallion match for that mare. Someone really loved that mare. Someone really gave that mare treats all the way through, the week before she foaled out. Somebody was there when the foal was born. There was someone there to raise the foal, to train the horse for racing, and then somebody was there to race the horse, and then somebody was there afterwards, right? And that's a big part of what you all do, is what do they do next? So I think that just knowing how many different people love these horses, I hope that that's one of the takeaways from the full cams.
Yeah. No, I love that because it really is. It's such a community thing. And I think that's like such an important message to get across, right? Because it's very easy for, some parts of people in aftercare and just in the equestrian world to be like, wow, the racing industry just cranks out these horses. But the reality is like, okay, yes, the owner on paper may not be there for that moment, but there's so many people behind these horses, doing the day-to-day hands-on. Like there is no truly like, unloved horse in the racing or breeding industry, right? Like someone's always there.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And it's great. Our students get to, they get to be there when these foals are born, and then they know them until they are sold. And they're just so proud of them. When they're sold, they're, they go to the auction in Harrisburg, the Black Book sale, but it's bittersweet, right? So they're so proud of them and they're so excited for them to go do big things. but they really love them and they're going to miss them too. So the students do follow them and keep track of them and watch them and cheer them on.
I love that. Yeah. Well, that's the reality of the horse industry, right? It's like you are generally preparing a horse to eventually, like if you've done your job well, the horse will leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so, yeah. Bittersweet is a perfect word for it.
Yeah.
So what happens if like something goes awry, right? Like, cause like as much as you're selecting, like a proven mare who's easy to work with, or like a maiden that you think is going to go well, like the reality is like stuff happens. So, what happens if there's like if something takes a turn on a live feed?
Right. It's never happened to us, knock on wood.
Yeah.
And
Gonna do
thank
that right
goodness.
now. Yep, okay.
But we are prepared for it, and we've worked with our friends at the PHRA, and the feed is on a little bit of a delay. So if there's a serious issue that just isn't appropriate for the public viewing, then we could certainly cut the feed and then just send a narrative sort of explaining what happened. And I know that has been done on other live feeds before, or quote unquote live, just slightly delayed feeds before, not with the PHRA, but just in general. So we sort of have that as, we have that in our pocket if we need it, and hopefully we won't.
Right. Yes. We always knock wood, hope for the best,
Yeah.
and it'll all be smooth. So remind listeners one more time when and where they can find these feeds.
So the feeds go live March 1st, and they can find them either at Penn Horse Racing, PENN horseracing.com/foal, or they can go to delval, delval.edu/equine, and they can find the links there, and they can see what our students do and see some horse babies. And there's nothing better than a horse baby for us.
I love that. Yeah. So, and we'll try to remember to share that too on our social for listeners. And then Joy and I will also get no sleep in March.
Yeah.
Because we'll also be watching.
That's right. I know. I get sucked into. I really do. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, I've done it before. I was watching at different organizations and I was like, I'm really invested in this. Like, I'm shocked, like how invested I am. So yeah,
I know. You're like, oh, it's a boy.
Yeah. Like I wanted to know. Yeah. Well, Dr. Cory, thank you so much for hopping back on and sharing about the foal cams. We are looking forward to March, and we wish you a happy, safe, and smooth foaling season for everybody.
Thank you so much for having me.
Cashel has been crafting top-notch products since 1986, designed to make your ride safer, more convenient, and downright enjoyable. From the Crusader Fly Mask, the ultimate fly mask, trusted by riders nationwide, to the blanket top performance felt pad with pressed felt with merino fleece. It's like a spa day for your horse's back. To the beautiful beaded halters, adjustable, durable, and gorgeous. Visit cashelcompany.com today and gear up for the ride of a lifetime. Cashel, where quality meets the saddle.
Well, Kristen, speaking of a new year, I know we're getting ready for making the makeover, but we still got some time because applications are still being collected. Tell us what's new at the RRP.
Yeah. So, we always like to remind people we are more than the makeover. And to that end, we have in February, Aftercare Industry Month coming up. That is our virtual conference that takes place throughout the month. And that's for anybody with a professional interest in thoroughbred aftercare. So that's anyone who, works at a nonprofit organization, but also people who work, in the private sector, like with businesses doing reselling. And that's also just for anyone who wants to learn more about the aftercare industry and, sort of the unique challenges that we're facing here. So what we do is we have one webinar every week in the month of February. They're all at 7 p.m. So hopefully everyone's all done with their farm chores and they can come and tune in. And if you miss one, you can obviously get the recording and watch that later as well. Thoroughbred Aftercare Industry Month is sponsored by Thoroughbred Education and Research Foundation. And the 4 topics that we're going to be covering in February include in-house aftercare programs. So those are programs such as Godolphin Lifetime Care, where the owner and breeder is running their own program themselves to rehome those horses. We have another session coming up on thoroughbred matchmaking. So that's if you work at a nonprofit, such as our friends at New Vocations, or if you're running a reselling type business that you're making the best possible matches between your buyer or adopter and the horses. We have a session on development. That one's probably geared a little bit more towards the nonprofits for making best practice with their fundraising. And then the last one is property planning for renting, leasing, or owning. And that's for anyone who's trying to get their hands on a farm to give themselves kind of that long-term stability for their program. So you can check that out at therrp.org. It's a $10 fee to register for the whole month, or you can register a la carte for individual sessions for $5. Joy, we are loving our Track to Triumph series, and today's story is kind of special because you and I both got to witness this horse's performance in person at the Thoroughbred Makeover. They were in the finale for the freestyle, and I may have gotten like a little tear in my eye, and I think I called you out for getting a little tear in your eye, but you had allergies, so you said. So there was no tears, but that's okay. It was a very moving performance.
Yes, no tears, but definitely moved. It was a very captivating performance to watch for our freestyle division and to announce for this listener who wrote in too. So our listener who wrote in today is Juliana Prusak, and her horse that she took to the makeover this last year was Too Much Crown, which I think is a really funny name and cute, but she calls him Nemo, and they did the cutest Finding Nemo theme, but I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to give her exact summary because it's much more well written than anything I'd put together. So Juliana says, Nemo was diagnosed with kissing spine in 6 spots back in March. He had to have the bone shave surgery as our vet did not believe proper body carriage and injections would help. We were on track to going to RRP, and once he finished rehab at the beginning of July, he ended up being in a pasture accident. Was millimeters away from puncturing his stifle with that's crazy, by the way. And just like, I can't even imagine the level of anxiety she went through trying to go to the makeover. Back to the story. With only a month and a half of prep work, we still made it to the RRP. We did freestyle and dressage and got first in prelim and freestyle and second in the finale. He also won Top Bred Louisiana Award. This horse has taught me perseverance and to just keep swimming. Oh, so I read this before, but for some reason it hit differently this time.
See, now you do have a tear in your eye, don't you?
Now I do. Juliana says, I owe this horse so much and want to let everyone know that kissing spine is not a career-ending diagnosis like it once was. Amen to that, Juliana. Thank you for sharing your story. It was so great to watch you two, and it was very clear the connection that you both had in that ring. And I hope you guys are both living your best lives post-makeover. So if you are interested in sharing your story with us in our Track to Triumph series, please do. Everything counts. It is your idea of what a win looks like to you with you and your retired racehorse. Can be thoroughbred, standardbred, Arabian quarter horse. We want it all. So send that to us. There's a form on our Facebook page, or if you need to, you can just email us, joy@horseradionetwork.com. Well, being a new year, it's my favorite segment that we're going to do because we have to feature an adoptable horse for you with new vocations. Before we do, y'all come for the training tips. We know it. It's one of the best parts of the episode. And today we have Amanda Tucker on from the Lexington facility of New Vocations. Welcome back, Amanda.
So thank you for having me.
It's always great having you. A happy new year. I'm sure lots of things are going on at New Vocations as you're kicking off 2025.
Yes, happy new year. And we have a lot of snow here right now. So it's been very interesting.
Have the horses been loving the snow? I'm curious because like Michigan horses love a good snow, but I'm not sure about Kentucky horses.
They were very skeptical, and there's like a layer of ice in between the snow. So they step on it and then kind of fall through. So a lot of them just kind of stood there and looked at us until we brought them back in again.
Fair. I'm glad yours are a lot more sensible than ours because our thoroughbreds on the property have been running in circles. They are having a heyday with the snow that has come down, but glad to see yours are being a lot more sensible about the situation. And of course, we know they're getting the utmost care at New Vocations. It's one of our favorite things about you. But before we dive in to our adoptable horse, who I'm already infatuated with, this is a problem. I cannot tell my husband, but I'm going to tell my husband. So if she's not available, it might be because I adopted her. I have a question from a listener, and I think it's a question that a lot of our listeners can relate to, whether they have thoroughbreds, standardbreds, or any other horse. So this listener submitted that they have a horse who's retraining as a jumper, and he's very sweet on the ground. But once he warms up, he is struggling to slow down between jumps. And I think an easy way to say this is we're rushing to fences. But I want to even go a step further from this listener. And I know a lot of horses who rush ground poles too, especially those young thoroughbreds in retraining. So can you tell us a little bit about why they might be rushing to ground poles or fences, and maybe some tips and tricks on how we can help them feel more confident about them?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love this question since I work with all these baby horses, and I also teach a lot of pony club and work with baby riders, and they have the same problem. So one of the big things that I do with my younger riders and my younger horses is I try and make it as boring as humanly possible, because they get so excited. They're like, yes, we're doing something so cool, and we're jumping, we're doing poles, and they get so excited and they tally ho and off they go. So I do a lot of repetitive work and try and make that one ground pole really boring. So we'll just do really boring work and not build it up quickly until they realize, oh, this isn't that exciting. I can just step over this pole. And then a lot of times I'll make them step over the pole and then halt. That way they look to me as to ask, what are we going to do next? As opposed to trying to guess that we're going to go over that pole over there and then rush straight to it. So doing a lot of that. Yeah, so it's a lot of foundational. It's basically you want to do flat work, but over your poles. So think dressage with poles in the way. And then as you graduate up to jumps, you're doing dressage in between the jumps. So you don't lock onto that next jump and tally ho to it. You're going to, bring your horse back like you would in a dressage test and get that nice rhythm before you get to your next one.
I love that. I just had a flashback to when I was teaching and training professionally. I was the Western teacher and coach, but I got to cross train a lot with our hunt seat folks, and they did a lot of that. Like you trot in, canter out of a cross rail, and then halt on a straight line. And you would do just that for a whole lesson. And I was like, God, this is boring. But then I was like, oh, wait, no, this is a critical skill I actually need to master before I'm allowed to go do the full courses. So, but yeah, it was good for the horses. It was good for us. It just makes a lot of sense to like really think about all the bits in between the fences, not just the fences themselves.
Slow down to speed up.
Right.
Exactly. Slow and steady wins the race. So it might seem boring, but then you build that foundation. And when you can do all of those parts really well, then you can start building them up and it goes so much better.
I think that's like a really, really great point to make. And, a lot of times too, I feel like depending on what's being exciting, right? Like, I think a lot of students I work with, they think their horse is like, oh, this is super fun. They get really excited and rush to the next thing. I do think sometimes that happens with certain horses for sure. It can be very fun, especially if they've had a boring training season. But how often does rushing happen due to like unbalance of the rider or the horse even?
Oh, absolutely. And that's what I see in all the younger riders and the younger horses is that, they're speeding up to get that like centrifugal force to stay on their feet to get over the fences because they don't have that strength and balance. So being able to build that, it's kind of like doing squats and push-ups. We don't really want to do them, but it changes everything if you have that strength and balance.
I love it. So really the best thing to do is slow down, do your groundwork, walk before you run.
Exactly. The advice that no one wants to hear is really boring, but if you put in the time, it's really, really worth it.
Yes, I'm not a jumper, but I have seen in our jump program that the halt does work a ton for those speedier horses, or lining up the jumps where they are going towards like the actual arena fencing. So they can't just run straight to the next one. They have a limited space.
Right. They have to ask a question because they have to ask a question because there's something there. So I like to do like 3 trot poles to a cross rail. So you're trotting in and then you canter out, but then you halt on that straight line before you turn because it makes the rider and the horse both sink.
I love that. That kind of teaches them that reassurance in themselves and in you, because it probably comes down to the fact that, yes, they're probably having some fun here, or they have some anxious energy, because anxiety and excitement for us is this coming from the same place in the brain. I'm not a horse medical professional, but I'm assuming it's probably similar for them as well. They're both mammals. And so that excitement or anxiety, it just gives them a chance to pause, slow down, and like start building trust in you that you'll be able to provide the right direction for them.
Exactly. And then along the way, you're building up that foundation and balance and strength too. So it's a win-win.
Amazing. Well, speaking of horses that look very balanced and like ready to go, tell us about our adoptable horse because I'm obsessed.
This girl is amazingly balanced considering she has so few rides on her already. And I actually rode her out in the snow a couple days ago after she'd had about 3 weeks off over Christmas. And we had an absolute blast. She is probably one of the most fun horses I have ever ridden here. And I ride a lot here.
She looks really fun. She's a chestnut mare named Symphony, and she's a 2021 model. So nice, young, ready to go, and that great height of 16 hands. I can't even count how many times Kristen and I have talked on the show about how that's just a perfect height for so many body types. And she even looks a little bit butt high in these photos. So I'm curious if there's no snow on the ground. So she might have even out just a little bit since these were taken. But she is just very feminine and regal. And she's that metallic chestnut color, which is my personal favorite. If anyone's seen my own horse, she reminds me a lot of her.
She looks very dressage-y, Joy. I'm just going to put that out there.
It's a problem.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, I'm watching the video. Oh, her canter is lovely. She's also a candy ride, which is, I always am like, oh my God, the candy rides and the gun runners, that whole sire line. So yeah, I am a big fan of a candy ride. I like this one a lot.
I like her too. She hits a lot of my personal checklist items as far as being very personable. She's got good ground manners. I'm getting older in my years. And so my goal, I was hoping this horse would like show up at the end of 2025, Amanda, because I'd like to do the makeover next year. That's okay. But I know as I'm getting older, I like to take less risks. So looking for that more level 1, level 2 horse that still has a lot of desire for a job is what I'm looking for. And it seems like she's checking all of those boxes.
Yeah, she's fantastic. And she's so classy and she's so sweet. And I don't know why she's still here other than people kind of judging her because she's a red mare, but she does not fit the stereotype at all.
I don't think that stereotype is a thing anymore. I'm just going to put that out there. I think that's just a thing people say.
It should be debunked.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I also want to give a shout out to the ASPCA Racehorse Scholarship because I don't think we've talked about that yet. But that is a program through RRP got the Retiring Racers grant from ASPCA. And we've put that money into a scholarship this year. So if you adopt a horse from a Right Horse partner organization, of which New Vocations is one, you are eligible to have your stabling fee and your first discipline fee waived or like covered by the scholarship at the makeover. And then of course you guys also offer an additional incentive for taking a New Vocations horse to the makeover as well, right? So like it actually like can pay to take a New Vocations horse to the makeover. Do you know the details on that, Amanda?
I don't know all the details in depth, but yes, we will. If you show up to the makeover with your horse, a lot of the fees are covered by New Vocations.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, it's right here on the website. I just can't read. Yes. If you compete, you'll be reimbursed a $350 trainer application fee. So that's the fee that's due like right now as you're finishing your application. Actually, it was due yesterday because this episode comes out the day after applications close, but they are still open for late apps. So if you were like, oh no, I missed the boat, you can still apply and just pay the late fee. But yeah, like if you stack those two kind of incentives and scholarships together, like you can make back a lot of your investment in the makeover. So just going to put that out there, Joy. It's time.
I know.
Got nothing to lose.
She's very cute and she definitely has that like feminine face that I really like for mares, but her eye is very soft. So whether she's in my stable or yours, she's going to make someone very, very happy. And she's a lovely price of $2,500 for her adoption fee. She's super sporty. Her legs look great. She's got great conformation. I'm very excited to see where this horse ends up in her next career. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us. All of our listeners, check out newvocations.org. Get your applications in. You must be an approved adopter before bringing any of these beauties home. And until next time, we appreciate everything and stay warm.
You guys too. Thanks so much for having me.
You can find our show notes and links to today's guests on the website at horseradionetwork.com. Like us on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for Retired Racehorse Radio. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. You can find me on Instagram at The Horseback Writer and on Facebook at Jobber Bill Racehorse to Ranch Horse. My email is kristen@horseradionetwork.com.
You can find me on Instagram at Misfit Mare, and my email is joy@horseradionetwork.com. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Kentucky Performance Products, Cashel Company, and U.S. Rider, and to our partners, New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program and the Retired Racehorse Project. Don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network, part of Equine Network, at horseradionetwork.com. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, as it really helps us grow and keeps bringing you all the content that you love. Remember to set your goals high and look to learn from every ride.
And always, cow side leg.
Bye, guys.